Alright guys, check it out. So today I just want to talk a little bit about EOS. EOS is the Entrepreneurial, which I always have a problem saying that word, operating system. And it seems that over the last year or so I've been seeing it more often and it's become a little bit more mainstream. Now, there's two things when it comes to EOS. There's doing EOS and there's running on EOS. So what I see is a lot of doing, but running on EOS is a completely different animal. When you're actually running on EOS, EOS is ingrained into your company. It doesn't matter how busy you get. It doesn't matter what happens on the outside. We're using this as a funnel to filter everything that comes into Paramount and seeing if it fits with our objectives. If it doesn't fit with our objectives inside the EOS funnel, then it's automatically thrown out. If you have an implementer, you'll get a binder like this. We're on our third year now of running on EOS. Our implementer comes quarterly, and then we have a 2-day annual. And this is done with our leadership team. When I'm talking about EOS to people that are completely unfamiliar, it's very hard to describe what it is. But if I could describe what it is, I would say it's the system in which everything in your business runs on. The way that all metrics are created, it's the way that your company creates its core values, the way you hire and fire, the way you treat your employees, the way you treat your customers, how do you set your goals, and essentially what it comes down to is living in the 90-day world. This binder here has a ton of different tools in it. Most of the pages here are filled out because this one is probably this binder here is probably about a year old. But there's so many tools inside of this book. I've shared some of this stuff with many people. One of the guys I coach, I introduced a scorecard to him. So a scorecard looks like this. You're gonna have your who's responsible for it. Remember, if two people are responsible, nobody's responsible. So if you're holding somebody accountable for, we'll just say, gathering closed sales percentages, right? That's your measurable. You're gathering closed sales. The person that's responsible can delegate the task, right? But ultimately, they're responsible for getting it to the sheet. So they can't say, well, I told Joe to do it and he didn't do it. That's not acceptable. They're responsible for it, so I don't care how you get it. You're the responsible party, so you're responsible to get it to the sheet. Now, when you introduce a company scorecard to a company, the way that I like to think of this scorecard is, if you were on an island, right? You had no cell phone reception, you had no internet, no way of communication, but you wanted to know how your business was running. And this came in a little bottle, floated up the ocean onto the shore, and you undid the bottle and pulled this out. You should be able to tell how your business is doing, whether it's doing good, fair, or poorly. So we don't want to fill this up with a million different things, right? We want to take each of your departments, finance, sales and marketing, operations, however you have your company organized, and we want to give a 2 to 3 to each department where we can look at them and see how's our company doing on this date. So let's use the term for closed sales. We want to know closed sales. How do we measure it? What's our goal? So if it's closed sales is based on a percentage, like, hey, we want to close at 35%, then we would write 35% on there. So who's responsible? I'm responsible. Eric's responsible. What's the measurable? Closed sales. What's the goal? 35%. And when you get to the day, it's yes or no. It's not no with explanation. It's yes or no, right? Did we hit this goal? Yes, we hit this goal. Okay. Now it's the 12th of January. Eric, what's the close percentage? 35%. Did we hit it or not? No, we didn't. Okay, so then we put no there. And if it's a no, we drop that down to something called an issues list, and we discuss that later. So that's just something very simple that you can implement in your company, no matter, regardless of size. Every department should have one of these. So every time you have a leader, the leader should have their own scorecard per their department, and then the leadership team takes those scorecards, and it doesn't have to be everyone that they're tracking. And they're putting the major things onto the scorecard so that you can always see how your business is doing. A good analogy that my EOS implementer uses is, this is kind of like your check engine light in your car, right? You wouldn't know that you're low on oil if you had not checked it, right? Unless that check engine light goes on. But if that check engine light goes on while you're driving, you're going to investigate it or take it in for investigation. That's the same thing that this is supposed to do, right? If we hit no 2 times in a week, well, that sales manager would definitely be talking. We'd be talking to the sales manager like, hey, listen, we're under our 35%. Twice in a row. What's happening? Is it a training problem? Is it an employee problem? Is it a lead problem? What's the problem, right? We can get to the root of that problem, and then we can solve it. So things that are on my scorecard are like receivables over 30. That's a good finance one. Like I want to know how many receivables are over 30, and then what is our measurable? Like that would typically be a number 10, right? So if your goal is 10, receivables over 30, 10, are we higher or lower? And then a red flag's gonna go off. Well, no, we're higher. Okay, we drop that to the issues list. When we get to the issues list, we discuss. Why are we so high on receivables? Well, we did 24 jobs last week, and 14 of them were insurance, so we're waiting for the RCV. Okay, cool. But at least it's a check engine light. Before it gets way out of hand, you'll be able to check that thing out. So closed sales, receivables over 30, production time, so we measure that in 4 weeks, right? So our measurable would be 4 weeks. We want to make sure we're 4 weeks out all the time. So when it gets to the operations part of the scorecard, it will say production time greater than 4 weeks. Is it greater than or less than? So as long as it's greater than, we're good. But say, hey, we're less than 4 weeks out. Wouldn't you like to know that before you run out of work? So again, it's not a crazy tool, but it's a small tool that you can use to see something and predict things before they happen. Gross margin, to make sure we're constantly hitting our margin. If we're constantly going beneath our margin, then that's a problem. We have to discuss that. So this is a good tip from the EOS manual that's very easy for you to implement. You can go online. I don't know how EOS feels about things, but I know that you can go on Google, put an EOS scorecard template, and you can download the PDF, or you can just create it in Excel. But what I would suggest is you get a hold of an actual EOS implementer. I know most of them do a free 90 minutes with your leadership team, so they'll meet you and they will have you and your team give you a 90-minute introduction to what they can do for your business, if they're a good fit for you. And the other part of EOS is to read the book Traction. If you read Traction, that's kind of the entry-level book to EOS. I don't know how many times I've read Traction. It's great. There's a lot of different books that go with EOS, but starting with Traction is always a good one. I will keep doing little tidbits from this. I just have to make sure of what I can discuss and what I can't discuss, because I don't know how they're trademarked and system works. I'm not currently an implementer, but it's something I would explore. Once Paramount's on its own, and maybe down the road I want to spend more time helping other companies, I would consider being an implementer, and because I live and breathe this every day. This is all I know. So if you have questions about this, you can reach out to me, but I would highly suggest you look into EOS, especially if you're doing 2 million, 3 million plus, and you have a team with different functions. I think EOS is a really good move. It absolutely helped scale my business and change my life. I'll be doing an interview with my implementer. I can't wait. His name's Andy. He's one of the best guys I've ever met. I mean, as a mentor, as a friend, as an implementer, I talk to him all the time, and I know he'd have tons of knowledge for all you guys out there, and he'd be open to help. Hope you got some information out of that. I know it was a lot of, but it is what it is.